Saunders, City of Richmond.
Mark Smith, Chesterfield.
Kevin Robertson.
Dave Anderson, Chesterfield.
Todd Garrett, Henrico County.
Cheryl Adams, GRTC.
All right.
Ashley Mason, GRTC. Tanya Thompson, GRTC. Monica Carter, GRTC. Sharika Ruffin, RideFinders.
Mark Brennan, GRTC.
Robinson,
Janice Witt, GRTC.
Sex of her, GRTC.
Tony Burke, GRTC.
Adrian Moore, GRTC.
Johnson's Road, GRTC.
Frank.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Public comments. Do we have any, where is, oh, okay. All right, do we have any, anyone here looking to make public comments this morning? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Directors. My name is Maurice. I represent the bargaining unit workers of GRTC and National Express. I would like to commend the board on the appointment of Ms. Adams for CEO here. She has made a lot of positive changes, and morale at GRTC is rising. Speaking of the previous administration, they brought in a paratransit contractor that had the mindset of theirs of bullying their employees. The contractor negotiated a collective bargaining agreement, which they are constantly violating. They are actually stealing time from employees. And a prime example of that is one employee was on vacation during the Christmas holiday. They was told that they can't receive holiday pay and vacation pay. They will be double dipping, even though the collective bargaining agreement said they can. National Express can attract employees, but after working for them a month or two, employees are running for the exit. In my 35 years here, we haven't had no contractor that has been running people away like National Express here. I would like to take the board, look at the service and try to bring it back in the house. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna we'll heed your words, Mr. Carter. We'll talk to staff and someone will follow back. All right. Board minute meeting notes from November 21st. Need a motion.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and second. All in favor, say aye to approve the minutes.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passed. Consent agenda, we got janitorial services, paratransit, vehicles, that's Mr. Bird. Microtransit marketing services, Mr. Hurd. Mr. Zenzarella, medical insurance renewal resolution. If anyone has any questions. Anybody have any questions about anything on the consent agenda?
Just one quick one, sir. To speak to the cleaning, just a quick question.
All right, Mr. Bird, question about janitorial services. Can you come up to the mic? Yeah.
Did we estimate, I saw in there, we estimated 500 something over 5 years, so we were figuring 100 something. And it came in at 30 something, but I saw we solicited to 10,000 people. We got 8 bids. Were they all relatively there? Like were the bids just all of them up over and above where we saw it? I mean, we estimated, I don't know if I summed that up right. We estimated about 120,000 a year for 5 years, and it was 330 a year, 3 times what we thought. I'm just curious where the world was at in that regard.
So I believe that 5 years ago, we probably had a better market.
Right.
And the independent cost estimate was largely based on the last pricing. And so when we went out, Brooks and Brooks was very competitive. They were definitely within the range. I think out of all the proposers, they were the lowest.
And most responsible. And they're new, right, to us. So we cut a 3-year deal instead of a 5. I guess did the RFP offer a 3 or did it offer a 5 again?
So we, it was a 5-year base.
3 with 2 months off. So the market was just there over the course of time.
The last contractor had some issues with the pricing. and rising costs, I think it's more than
Thank you. Sorry, sir. It was good to see you.
Any other questions? All right, need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. We do have an action item, from Bonnie, I guess, policy for virtual meeting.
Yes, according to the Code of Virginia, we have to have a policy in place in order to participate electronically, either individual board members or in all virtual meeting in event. Today, weather was worse than what it was, and we wanted to do it virtually. You have to have this policy in place. So basically, it states that you can't do it any often than 25%, which is 2 meetings a year, is what it says. And wanted to find out if you all were okay with that, or that is that according to the code, or that's just what's recommended?
That tracks the Virginia Code provisions for FOIA. Those of you who are on governing bodies may have already adopted one of these that does not allow for all virtual meetings. And the reason GRTC's board can do that is because it is not a local governing body. So you do have the ability to do all virtual meetings. And I think it's whichever is more, maybe 2 meetings a year or 25%.
So that's all virtual. What about individual people participating?
So
in virtual?
individual, you, and when I say you, and obviously I'm happy to answer any questions, especially probably the first or couple of times this may come up. There are a set of steps that need to be followed. There are certain reasons that you can participate remotely. They have to be communicated to the CEO and the chair. The board has to then say at the meeting, yes, it's fine for you to participate virtually, and that has to be in the minutes. And that's also a maximum of 25% of the meetings or 2 meetings per year.
And the reasons are on page 2. Also.
And you have to have a quorum present to do that,
You
right?
do.
So you can't make a quorum by virtual unless it's an all virtual meeting, right?
Thank you for pointing that up. That's exactly right. So for the individual participation electronically, there still has to be a physical quorum together in one place.
So for us, again, the quorum is 2 at a minimum.
From each.
Three.
No, it's 2 from each county.
Oh, that's right.
And the city and the 2 counties, it's weird here.
2 from each. So yes.
This is very nitpicky, but the 2 or 25%, you don't know about what the actual 25% is till the last meeting of the year, which, for instance, last year was canceled. So you might have 11, you might have 12. So don't know if that's a challenge or not,
I
but
think if it's scheduled meetings, and it would be, and there's
Scheduled.
12 scheduled meetings, and you would have up to 3, even though, because to his point, although if anybody's doing that 3 times, I mean, I don't think any of us have had that,
right. No,
that many times.
That's why I said nitpicky. It's, if we wanted to put the word scheduled in there to clarify that, I don't know.
Can we though? Or is that a FOIA?
FOIA doesn't distinguish. So I think, I mean, I'm answering this on the spot. I'm happy to look into it, but I think meetings means meetings. So even if you call a special meeting for some reason, I do think you have to take that into account in terms of the total number of meetings that you are using the electronic participation policy.
And it also applies to committees as well.
So that's an interesting question. These same rules do apply to committee meetings, and I can double check on this as well, but I don't think they cross over. So I think you could use 2 for your committee and 2 for the board.
I think
All right, any more questions? If not, need a motion to accept this new policy, virtual meetings.
Second.
All right, moved in second. Any more questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, major projects, development update. Say your last name for me one more time.
Adakwa.
Adakwa. All right, Mr. Frank Adakwa.
Yes, sir.
Frank, for those of you who have not met Frank, is our new Director of Planning and Scheduling. He comes to us, our last assignment was in Atlanta. We're happy.
Welcome. Thank you.
How long have you been here, Frank?
I believe my 5th week.
Fifth week? So culture shock from Atlanta to Richmond?
Actually, I used to live there about 12 years ago.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
So,
Okay.
I'll be taking you through some of the major projects that GRTC is working on, and then also sharing expansion of service change. So the first one that I'll start with is with the North-South BRT extension. So various regional studies identified within the region called for the need for a North-South BRT line to connect and complement the existing pole system that we have. And a locally preferred alternative, I believe, has been selected after various alignments were. So currently, this project is in the environmental clearance phase, and we are looking at finishing construction by 2020. The next in line is the Western GRT extension. So as Henrico continues to experience growth and redevelopment along the Broad Street corridor, there has been increasing interest in Nepal's BRT extension westward, and this is westward from the current terminus at, I believe it's called Willow Lawn, right? Okay. So GRTC working together with its regional partners have identified Farnham as the next line, as the next end of the line going westward. And currently, this project is also in the environmental clearance phase, and construction is. So GRTC, in its effort to address demand and capacity limitations on the system, secured grant from GRTC as well as BLVD program to purchase 460 party related vehicles. The idea is to dedicate 2 of these buses to the pulse system, and then also the other 2 to the regular fixed route. Another component of this project is the modification of the stations, the pulse BRT stations, because the articulated buses have certain characteristics that there needs to be some changes made to the pulse stations to be able to accommodate those buses. So I'm currently, I believe, Adrian, if you can help me here, I don't know if the purchases have been done or if we have placed any order for those buses yet.
At this moment. It was that last weekend.
Okay, so the modification ended by the time the modification got done, the buses will be to start operation. The facilities are master plan. So GRTC has been working on this plan since May of last year. The focus of the plan is to, well, the plan is pretty much focused on the current needs of the facility as well as the future needs based on the planned growth related to vehicle and service expansion. So GRTC has, at this point, has received conceptual designs from the contractor, reviewed it and submitted comments back to the consultant. So we are looking to hear back from them to see where they are with that, with the conceptual design. And I believe the construction of this project is anticipated to be done somewhere around 2026. And another component of that, so a part of the facilities master plan also includes the conceptual design, as I stated, for a property that has been acquired across the street at 325 East Bell Boulevard, which was pretty much acquired for fleet storage needs, if I'm correct. Yeah. All right. So currently, that is where we are. GRTC is awaiting on a categorical exclusion determination by the FTA to see if we can move forward with remediation and demolition of that of their building on that property for us to start construction. So currently, we are kind of waiting on the FTA to see what they come up with. And once that is done, we can move ahead with the remediation and construction. Zero emission vehicles. So my understanding is that there were funds in place to purchase 300 zero emission vehicles. However, currently what GRTC is doing is moving forward to purchase, I think about 5 of those vehicles. Yeah, and the idea is to pilot that, to pilot those buses to see how they fit within the system. Dedicated lane study. So the dedicated lane study was pretty much prompted by a congestion on the non-dedicated segments of the The study identified location for bus priority treatment to improve on-time performance and reliability. So one of the things that the study also did was also to identify feasible segments of the existing Pulse BRT route to convert to peak or all-day dedicated bus lanes only. And the idea here is to achieve more than 50% dedicated lanes, because there are some kind of gains there. Once GRTC is able to have more than 50% of the BRT Pulse to be dedicated lanes, the system then qualifies for some FTA funding programs, especially the State of Good Rate program. So that is pretty much the idea with this dedicated lane study. The East End Transfer Hub. GRTC has identified 4 stop locations within its transit system that function as major transfer points for local riders outside of the downtown area. And the agency's aim here is to assess each of these locations and improve upon them for purposes of accessibility, ease of transfer, and the first location to be assessed the local stop at 23rd and Franklin. This stop particularly functions as a local route, and also a Pulse BRT station. The considered solution for this location is going to be pedestrian improvements with route changes to take away those layover needs that we have at that point. The permanent downtown transfer. So the permanent downtown transfer station, GRTC with together with the city of Richmond identified potential locations for a permanent location for the downtown. And as part of the site selection process, the consultant is currently undertaking assessment of site together with analysis related to land use, market conditions, and supportive. And on the 25th of this month, there's going to be a public hearing regarding the sites that have been identified. So for those of you that can, 7:30 p.m. currently, like I said, the project is the consultant is still going to study as well as the site selection process. And construction is expected to be completed by the summer of 2025. So this is pretty much a summary of all the projects, schedule of all the projects that I have shared with you. Moving on to essential infrastructure. So in 2020, in 2022, GRTC committed to a goal of having a bench or shelter at 75% of its bus stops within 5 years as part of its essential transit infrastructure. And the agency has been awarded over $5 million to get this project underway in FY24. But the estimated need for this plan is over 20 million. And this is just pretty much to share with you how much we have received for the plan so far, and also show some of the projects that are currently in progress and the ones that we have planned for the rest of the year. So I'm not going to bore you and try to walk through it, but we have a couple of projects that are currently underway, such as the shelter order for bus stops, and we are anticipating to receive that by July of this year. And in terms of those plans for the rest of the year, we are looking at the pole-mounted seat pilot installation, as well as the pole-mounted solar light installation. Service update that we are kind of anticipating for the rest of the year. We are, in March, are going to launch service, micro transit service in 3 new zones, for Chesterfield, Ashland, and Carleton. And in terms of our fixed lookout route, we are looking at extending service to Brookwood and somewhere around May of this year. And also the extension of service to VCCS by September. And for round 7, we are looking at reducing headways to 15 minutes in September. So that will be all for the project update. I will take questions if there are any.
Thank you. Questions? Appreciate the update, sir. We'll reach out to you if we have any questions. All right, operational updates. And I think we made some adjustments to cut down the overall updates and reports. But I think operational performance, ridership performance are definitely things that we want to hear about monthly. So, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, and members of the board. The operating performance, as the chairman said, I'll be basically giving you an overview of where we're performing for transportation, safety, maintenance, and customer service. For transportation, we're still in a pretty good place as far as operators go. We finished the month with 320 full-time operators, 27 part-time operators, 17 operators in various stages of training, most of which should be graduating this month and maybe in the first part of February. We do have a class scheduled to start end of the month, basically to offset any operators we may lose due to normal attrition. As far as safety performance goes, we have seen a good negative trend in terms of the number of accidents over the last few months. The main ones, of course, have still been unfortunately fixed type accidents. So we continue to work with some of the operators, particularly the new operators, as Tony has mentioned over the last few months, that we're going to continue to work with them to make sure we keep going in the right direction as far as that goes. Maintenance, we actually have a few openings, 1 mechanic and 2 general utilities. Both of those positions we are interviewing over the next few days and hope to get those filled here shortly. And as far as customer service goes, we have seen a positive trend in terms of fewer number of complaints. We went 214 for the month of October, 166 complaints for the month of November, and down to 136 for the month of December. So continue to see positive trends with that. The main ones have been still passed up passengers, so we're going to continue to work with our operators, make sure we address those issues as well. Some of those we discovered have been non-verified because, this time of year as we get into the winter months, people may not necessarily be at the bus stop. They may be, in a shelter or someplace keeping warm. So the bus actually may have been there, but they weren't actually at the stop physically when the bus came in. Unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
So is that just a speculative statement, or that's what you know?
We actually go back and look through DVR footage and see where the customer wasn't actually physically at the stop.
All right, so you just did like 4 reports at one time. Got it. Yeah. All right, any questions? So back to the staffing. So we had 3, you said 3 what?
27 part-timers.
All right, and you still are getting ready to start another class?
Yes, probably we can start about 10 people. We're going to round it off maybe about 10 per month. We normally lose through normal attrition, 3 to 4 people per month. We have a graduation rate of about 78% through throughput. So we figure if we graduate 7 people, we should offset what we lose. Because it also, keep in mind, we didn't have a class the last 2 months of the year. October was our last class, so we need to start backfilling to make sure that we don't wind up in a hole.
All right.
Oh, yes, microtransit, yes. Thank you, Adrian, for reminding me. We did start a microtransit service back in November, so we've seen some steady growth in that. I know those stats may not be in the report there, but we did for the month of November, going into early December, roughly about 97 trips that were scheduled, 93 that were performed. For the month of December, we actually went up about 380%, over 466 trips that were actually performed during that period. Averaging about 60, 70 trips a day. So we have seen steady growth in terms of the microtransit service. We're looking to go into the other zones in March. So that's another reason why we're also looking at the workforce building up, so we make sure we have enough for that as well. And we do have a schedule change that started this past Sunday. We added about 20 or so new runs to the service. As you all know, we are now expanding down to Route 1A down to Walmart Way, and also to the Shelter in Arms to Route 19. So we're now branching into Richmond. So technically, we're across the line going into that service as well. So far it's only been a couple of days, so I can't really do too much about that other than hopefully the operators don't get lost and we get out there.
So the micro transit, we just had a 1 zone up right now?
Yes.
And that's the north side-ish, Hanover-ish? Okay. Okay. And you say you're doing 60 runs a day? So what once we up going, like what's a projected number a day, you think?
Yeah, we're looking at actually about 2 to 3 per hour. We actually just hit that. And just to give some context, the Route 93, we have actually exceeded the daily trip utilization for Route 93 already, even with the Route 93 still in place. So the Route 93 was actually eliminated as of Sunday. So you'll now have a turnover of those individuals using that. So I'd say already success.
All right, sounds good. Any other questions? Yes.
What's the anticipated start date for the microtransit?
We're looking at May.
That zones will start sometime in March.
And we're still refining the zone, but that's going to cover most of Highland Springs.
Okay. Great. All right, thank you, sir. Ridership performance. Back up again.
So this is pretty much the quarterly budget. Also very high. But if there are any detailed questions that we can respond to, I will try to get back to you. So, like I said, it's pretty much the ridership performance report for the second quarter of FY24, and we're looking at performance on BRT, the local fish route express, and also I'm just share a little bit of data from the micro. So for the BRT, our BRT is pretty much what we define them as. These are routes that travel along major corridors and thoroughfares, and they operate at high frequency and at high capacity. And their stops are pretty much along major activity centers as well as major road intersections. So for the performance of all, with the September 23 booking change, the pulse frequency for Saturday service improved to 15 minutes all day until 7 p.m. And for that September 23 booking change, there were no adjustments made to the weekday or the Sunday service. However, for this January 24 booking, which went out on January 14th, we have made some changes to the weekday daytime frequency. This has been improved to 10 minutes. So the September 23 change, booking changes plus the 24. What has happened is that the weekend service has, the frequency has been improved. And that the changes made to the September 23 booking can be attributed to the ridership increase that we have on there. Also, if you look at the year-over-year percentage increase, which is 2%, we believe that the frequency change contributed to some of that. And with the new changes that we have made, what we're going to do is to try to keep an eye on those changes that we have made and how that impacts ridership. The other thing that I want to talk about is productivity, and in this case, it's passengers per trip as well as average max load at peak. So if you look at the slide, the average max load at peak, we don't have any data for that because we have had some challenges pulling data from our systems. Going subsequent slide, I will not be talking about average max load. I'll probably be presenting that in future reports when we are able to get to the system for the data that we need. Performance on the arterial route. These are routes that travel 50% of their cost and have their stops along major activity centers. So if you look at the route 1 all throughout to 1C, realize the year-over-year percentage changes. Route 1 is 564%, and the 1A, B, and C are all different. That is not a true picture here. I just wanted to point that out. That what has happened is that for the May 2020-23 booking, the Route 1, 1A, B, and C started a new travel pattern. So they were made to truncate at the downtown transfer station. So the year-over-year comparison is not necessarily apples to apples comparison. We'll have to wait for some time to be able to get that data to run that analysis. But I think that the month-to-month information will give us a good picture of what how those routes are performed. So I just wanted to point that out. For the September booking, we made some changes to the weekday headway on Route 5. This was decreased to 15 minutes until 7 p.m. And if you look at Route 5, ridership year-over-year to increase by 39%. Then for the 7A and 7B, as part of the September 23, what we did was to increase the Sunday time by 4 hours. Initially, the service used to start at 10 in the morning and then end at 10 p.m. With that service change, we now start service at 7 a.m. and then we end at 11 p.m. So we're now starting it early, ending it 1 hour later than we used to. And we will consider something that we're going to keep an eye on. The arterial route, I think, so this is a passenger by trip product activity, and it's still the same story. The picture has changed, one that I showed you, because of the changes that we made to those routes. You see that the passenger per trip is not looking right, but like I said, this is not necessarily apples to apples comparison. The community radar route that's travel through the neighborhood. And, these are also routes that connect neighborhoods to the main corridor. So that is how we define the community radar route. Route 12 has continued to see an increase in ridership year over year on corridor. There is a need to monitor the performance of Route 76 and 77 just to see what needs to be done to address that dip. So that is something that the plan and scheduling team will continue to keep an eye on, just to see what we have to do to or if we can also look at doing something different. The circulators, these are routes that we define as connecting online sections of the service area to each other, and they also allow to arterial route. So as of January 14, Route 93 has been replaced with the link microtransit service. We just talked briefly. And Route 88 continue to be a low ridership route, and we will have to keep an eye on that just to see what changes can be made. The express route, these are pretty much routes that bring people from the suburbs into the core, and they are usually they work during the weekdays, when AM and PM peaks. Express routes, I think globally are one of the systems that have not recovered from the COVID pandemic. And what our routes here are experiencing is nothing new to what the rest of the countries are experiencing, because people that run or ride the express routes, these are people that work white collar jobs, and they work Monday to Friday. Now with the flex schedule where people work from home, they're not going to have that ridership back. On-time performance. OTP is a good indicator of rider satisfaction, and OTP that is involved, with success can also increase the ridership on the system. So for us, we continue to keep an eye on the on-time performance of the system, both for all the routes that we express, the local fixed routes, as well as the BRT. Currently, our express on-time performance is 64%, and local routes we have the on-time is 66%. BRT, that pretty much runs based on adherence. again, I think it's also critical to actual persistent schedule and see what the performance that was on. So for me, issues such as trips that run early, we need to find out why are they running early. Why are drivers doing stuff early, or what exactly is going on, and if it's a 20-day thing, it's something that we can fix by doing. And why are we running late? So these are things that we will continue to monitor, because being on time is also building trust with your riders. Because if you tell riders with your public schedule that we are going to be at point A at 2 a.m., you have to be there at 2 a.m. And that is how customers build trust within the system. So I think Tim touched on this with the microtransit. Currently, we are operating in only one zone, which is the 30th zone. But also that about just wanted to share service. I believe was launched November 13th. So we didn't do the full month of the ridership for that month was 80, and then for December we saw an increase to 481 riders. This pretty much shows ridership from 13 all the way up to December 20. Clearly, you can tell that ridership is going up. So we will continue to keep an eye on that to see what we can do to continue to increase service in these zones. We just want to share this information with you, since this was launched. So that brings me to the end of the ridership performance data night.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, dumb question on-time performance. There's the early and late and on time. On early arrivals, is it not routine where the driver waits until he's back on time when he leaves that spot, so that each and every time he's doing a reset, he or she is doing a reset? So that 10% can hopefully by the next stop become an on-time performance. It's not like it's going to be cumulatively early creating a problem. Is that correct?
It should be, that is correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Frank. So the dispatchers are charged with monitoring that, and if they see a bus running early, then they will ask that bus to pull over at the next stop and wait for its time.
Got it.
But yeah, it will show early at that stop if they leave early.
But the
They can
driver's
arrive
not
early.
necessarily stopping at each stop saying where I'm on the clock. That's just a lot to ask.
Yeah, they
right?
only have certain time points.
Yes, okay.
And so, yes, they will leave. They can arrive early, but they can't leave the bus stop early. If they leave, then it will reflect in that percentage.
So that charts the ones that did leave early that should have waited.
Correct. That's correct.
Got it. Got it. And Mr. Chair, the other question, it wasn't really discussed too much, but it's something I keep up. I don't know. I'm just the curiosity on the local pulse route because of, capital investment required to make those routes work and so forth. It seems to be sort of lagging in terms of its growth. And I'm curious, at least on the page 42 or behind the other trends. And I'm just curious as to what we do on a regular basis to identify what the potential ways of increasing that ridership. Maybe the articulated vehicles are part of that. We just can't fill them. But I'm curious as to what the avenues of identifying ways to improve that ridership are, if any, at this stage. I don't know if anybody can address that. So I'm just curious with the lag of growth in ridership on the pulse route, the local pulse route, which seems to be by the metrics lagging behind. And I know that during the COVID, there was a big reason. But as we move forward, are there measures we're taking specifically to identify how we attract more ridership to the Pulse. Yes.
I'm not sure. We can always talk about ways of paying program ridership on the Pulse system. There are several ways to do it, but we just have to have a good understanding of what.
So part of that is also people not coming into the downtown area on a daily basis, so that work
Less
remotely,
commuting.
some days. And also, I think with the 10-minute frequency, the ridership will go up. When we reduced the frequency, we saw the decline. But once the frequency, now that we're putting it back to where it was in 10 minutes, I think you'll see it.
Got it. Thank you.
Some questions about microtransit, the Azalea Zone. I was wondering if there was a learning curve for workers transitioning from the local service to microtransit. And if you feel like people figured it out, if lessons learned.
We did have ambassadors out there to assist, as well as they could call our customer service. So we have the VIA app that they can schedule their own trips, but if they're not familiar with it and want assistance or want us to schedule it for them, that's why we have customer service reps that are dedicated to helping them with that. But yeah, I agree, there was some learning curves. People were a little weary at first. They couldn't believe that they could actually catch it right where they needed to catch it. But as you can see, it took off. But there was learning curves at first. Yeah, I agree with that. But we are going to do the same thing with the new zones. We'll have ambassadors. We've already started putting out information, flyers, so that people will become familiar with it and download the app. It's really easy to use.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Finance, Mrs. Zanzarella.
Well, he's getting ready. But the other day, the committee did, and a couple things. One, I think John's getting ready to present the financials, so I won't hit on that. But the Petersburg area transit split, we've had multiple conversations for a long period of time on working out some kind of split that we can agree to going forward that has never been able to be reached. And I am happy to say that we actually have now a split in place with them. They have a new director of transit down there. He's been good to work with, and we want to appreciate that relationship. I know I've made statements in the past where they took offense and called me and let me know about it. So I want to publicly say that we thank them for working with us and coming to a conclusion on this. And then we also did, as a committee, review the medical benefits presentation and just voted to support that at the board level. That's the committee report.
Thank you, sir.
Now we're ready to roll. So we're going to speak off. This is slide 45 in your packet. Key highlights. So we're talking about the 5 months ended November 30th, 2023. So year-to-date revenues are favorable to budget by $1.5 million on the budget of $30.99 million. And this is being driven essentially by the federal funds revenue of 1.347 million. And this is primarily due to the ARPA funding, as Tim has reported his operations review. The amount of headcount for operators and trainees is higher than what was budgeted. We budgeted an assumption of 313 FTEs, 300 full-time, 26 part-times. So we've been utilizing the ARPA funding to support that initiative to get us to where we have the appropriate staffing levels to support our expansion and our footprint and service that we have. In addition, we have directly favorable funds, about $239,000, and this is just taking advantage of favorable interest rates due to the Fed being around 525 basis points. On the expense side, we're favorable to budget by about $2.4 million. We're not seeing the, as we indicate, we have about an $86,000 favorable variance. In labor, this is primarily in the general administrative and fringe benefit areas. Unfavorable in operation, setting with the ARPA revenue, we come to a neutral fund balance on that. The rest of the experience that we're having is kind of a timing, is favorable on services, timing of consulting projects, as well as we're favorable in materials and supplies. We're offsetting that a little bit with unfavorable purchase transportation, about $161,000. That's due to demand. Have the contract with Next that is providing the labor for the services. However, the demand is higher for the various categories of care and demand than was contemplated in the 2024 budget. And right now, currently, we have around $79,000. That was it's called regularly high consumption of water, which this is a report through November. We have subsequently in the month of December resolved that. We've had a meter change and we subsequent credit issued, but we expect that to be a favorable variance for December's report. But we're still having discussions on our gas meter with Richmond issues on that as well. We're looking forward to a favorable outcome on that as well. Net for the 5 months, we're about $2.1 million worth of surplus. There's nothing underlying here of concern. The favorableness is driven to some of the timing of the larger consulting projects. Going down just a little bit further, the balance sheet and cash flow position, $8.2 million, a pretty good cash flow position. Just some other highlights, just as we're in the January report, I'm going to call out the CBTA statement, which is through the end of December for the quarter ended. We will be, according to our MOU, we need to file that with CBTA by February 15th. I go over the details of that with the board here. We went through it over at the Finance Committee, but just high level here. This rather large statement here. So what it's showing here, whoops, I can't read it. So basically, what we're seeing here, we're averaging about $2.8 million a month in receipts, and this is the 15% of the fund balance that comes into GRTC. And so for the quarter, there's some significant investment returns. There were about $470,000 in returns, $407,000 for the quarter. Our outflows primarily were just our quarterly funding of the, you can see down here, $5.8 million, and we had some studies leaving us in a position at the end of the year at $41.9 million. And it's pretty much split investments between the Wells Fargo Treasury Suite as well as the LGPM. As you can see here in this line item here, the majority of this 41.5 million or 40.8 million is basically for the remainder of our fiscal 2024 operating capital expenses. We have about another $11.6 million of this for third quarter and fourth quarter funding, and the balance of the $29 million is set aside for fiscal 25, which we're in the process. We discussed the high-level assumptions of our budget at the Finance Committee meeting. So as our plan is to collect the funds for the operating grants and apply them based on the public transportation plan that will be adopted at the CBT. So we will be filing the summarized version of this with CBTA on February. At this time, I'll turn this over to any questions.
Any questions? I know those of us on finance heard it deeply. So those of you who haven't heard it, do you have any questions? All right, thank you, sir. Anything else you want to add?
I'll just say that based on everything we're looking at, and what we think going forward, I know it's a little premature, but just want to assure people that we're doing everything we can to stay fare free, and we expect to be able to do that at least for the next fiscal year. So, but with that, we need some more corporate partners to step up and help us in that endeavor. So we are looking for more opportunities to be able to continue that in the future. And to do that, we are going to need corporate partnerships. I think that's important to know as well.
We talked about developing plans and strategizing to try to reach out to the corporate community. Yeah. Trying to do our part, need them to do theirs, hopefully. All right, CEO's report.
The only thing I had, Jim stole was the Petersburg split letter.
All right, so we had executive session listed here, but technically can't go into executive session. So, so let me say this in the least possible amount of words. Is Angela here? Not in here, okay. So Angela Malloy, our HR director, right, reached out and let me know that it's time for us to evaluate our CEO. So last year this time I think we were wrapping up.
Announcing her, yeah.
But we didn't have a CEO to evaluate. And so, so I'm thinking it's easy. Okay, well, what did the previous board do? Give me, and Ben and Gary, if you're watching, if you have some record of something you did, we don't have it. So you gotta get it. We don't have anything to go off of. So we have to develop a process. There's a process for Cheryl to evaluate her employees, and we could kind of use that same form, or we could do something else. And so Joe has been helping. Well, we had a plan, but it's not going to be able to work that way right now. So we're gonna. We've got some options that we could look at, but I'm gonna need to pull together a small group. So I need 2 volunteers to work with me, so that we can figure out exactly how we want to do this evaluation and then do it without dragging it on forever. So I'll volunteer for Henrico, and we need 1 from Richmond and 1 from Chesapeake. Okay. And so Barb, you're gonna do it, okay. So I was gonna say all electeds, but that's fine. At least we need at least 1 elected on the group. And so let's get together. So I was gonna ask you, Cheryl, if it's okay, but we're evaluating you, so I'm not gonna ask you if it's okay. So since Joe has been working with us intergovernmentally, I'm gonna ask him to find a date, set it. Now, Barb, help me. This So it's three of us. So I guess if we would have did two, then, okay, so since it's three of us, then is that an open meeting?
Yes.
Even if it's for the evaluation of an employee?
Yes,
You can have an open meeting and then you can go into closed session.
that's correct.
Okay, well, great then. All right, well, then that's what we'll do. All right. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so Joe will, get with us. We'll get the, date straight and then we'll look at the two options, if that's okay with you guys. We'll look at a couple options and then we'll move forward. I do.
Just not able to do that today because we didn't previously announce it? Or why couldn't we go into a closed session to have that discussion?
Do you like me to answer?
Yes, yeah, sure.
The process itself is not the subject of a closed meeting. So how the evaluation.
The process isn't.
And take place cannot be in a closed meeting. The evaluation itself, when you're talking about the performance of a specific person, is absolutely
Okay.
An exemption to the open meeting.
So we had a process. If there was already
we
some
could do-
type of metric, I could have sent it out to you guys, told you to fill it out. Then we could have went in closed session today, put it together, boom, it'd have been over with, but we don't have it. So, you know, we're pioneering into unknown territory and we continue to do great things. So whoever comes after us will have a metric. All right, so are we okay with that? All right. Is there any other business? We have gotten to end the year and to start the year. We've gotten a lot of positive press about what we're doing. And I want to continue to thank you, Cheryl, and your executive team and all of the operators and staff and maintenance folk, everybody who has something to do with keeping the buses rolling and the vehicles rolling, moving people from place to place. So it seems like the greater community is appreciating it. All right, so we do have so we can't start, we have to wait until 10 o'clock for the press event. We can't start it early. Okay.
We have food.
We have food and gifts, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all right. But I need to officially close this meeting, all right? So I think at 10 o'clock, we are announcing the extension. You want to talk about what we're doing at 10 o'clock, sure?
So we are announcing the extension of the 1A, and we are still taking a bus ride for anyone that wants to. We'll take you over the extension, the route part of it. But we're doing a ribbon cutting ceremony at 10 a.m.
And we're going to do that here.
Here, that's
Okay.
right. Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Well, meeting adjourned.